Welcome back to the deep dive. For years, the U.S. crypto industry has basically lived with this threat hanging over its head.
Oh, absolutely. The constant fear that the Securities and Exchange Commission could just, retroactively decide almost any digital asset was an illegal security.
Well, it seems like that era just came to a dramatic end.
It really has.
Today, we are going to do a deep dive into what is, I think, the single most important regulatory move in U.S. crypto history.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the formal rollout of a full crypto token classification system led by SEC Chair Paul Atkins and his Project Crypto initiative.
Yeah.
And our mission here is really clear. We're going to unpack the 4 new regulatory categories that are going to define everything going forward. But more importantly, we're going to focus on one specific rule change that just rewrites the book for every project out there.
This is the clarity the industry has been begging for since, 2017?
Since the ICO boom, yeah.
Yeah. For almost a decade, development has been sort of paralyzed by this legal gray area. So this pivot by the SEC, it signals they're moving away from that whole regulation by enforcement thing.
Right.
And they're actually trying to build a real rule book, one that's actually designed for innovation. This isn't just new guidance, it's a blueprint.
Okay, so let's break this down for you, the learner. The number one benefit here has to be predictability, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine running a startup where your main product might just be declared illegal next week? That was the reality.
It was. And now exchanges, developers, investors, they finally have lines they can color within their boundaries.
So Atkins laid out 4 categories, or buckets, as he called them.
Exactly. 4 distinct buckets. And there are 2 key things to know here. 1, they're designed to be mutually exclusive.
Okay.
And 2, 3 out of the 4 categories are explicitly labeled as not being securities.
That's huge.
So let's start with Category A, digital commodities and network tokens. These are officially carved out. They are not securities.
And the criteria for that.
It's pretty straightforward. The token is mostly used to run a decentralized network. So think paying fees, staking, governance, real utility. And the crucial part is there's no expectation of profit that comes from some, centralized management team.
Right. So this obviously covers Bitcoin and Ethereum, especially after the merge. But that's what the market already thought.
Right.
What's the real news here?
The real news is the official validation. And it's not just for Bitcoin and ETH. This is where things get really interesting. Category A now officially includes tokens that were targets of massive lawsuits before, like XRP and Solana.
Wow. Okay, so they're in the clear.
As commodities, yes.
Yeah.
Along with established Layer 2 tokens. I mean, the SEC just ended years of legal battles in a single paragraph. This is the green light that institutional money has been waiting for.
That's a massive win. What about NFTs, all the digital art and collectibles? Where do they fit?
That's Category B, digital collectibles, also not securities. This bucket is for NFTs, digital art, PFP projects, in-game items.
And the logic there is similar.
Very similar. They can't be tied to the efforts of a central team, they can't have a claim on company revenue, and there's no built-in expectation of a financial return. It protects creators.
Okay, so we've covered the huge networks and the digital art world, but what about that messy middle? The DeFi protocols that aren't quite Bitcoin, but they're not just a PFP either.
And that's where the most confusion has always been. It brings us to the next bucket, Category C. Digital tools.
Also not securities.
Also not securities. These are defined purely by what they do. Are they used to access a service? Are they credits for on-chain functions? A payment token? Governance in a mature protocol? That's Category C.
Okay, help me square the circle here, because Category A and C sound pretty similar. If Ethereum is a Category A network token, what makes something like Uniswap's governance token a Category C digital tool? Isn't governance a utility?
That's the key distinction Atkins is drawing. It's a subtle but important one. Category A tokens, the commodities, are seen as systemically critical. They power the base layer or foundational chain itself. Category C tokens, the digital tools, are for specific applications built on top of those chains. The line really depends on the scope of the utility and, this is critical, the level of decentralization it is achieved.
So a project really has to prove its token is just a tool.
Exactly. Divorced from managerial efforts and profit claims.
Got it. Which leaves the last bucket.
Right, the simple one. Category D, tokenized securities. And these, of course, are securities.
No surprise there.
No. This is just traditional finance on a blockchain. We're talking tokenized stocks, tokenized treasuries, RWA tokens that pay dividends, anything that looks and acts like a traditional security.
Which gives a lot of clarity to those RWA protocols like Ondo or Maple. They know exactly what rules they need to follow.
Precisely.
Okay, now this is where things get, I think, really interesting. Because there's one line from Atkins' speech that completely changes the game.
This is the one. This is the sentence that turns everything on its head. He said, and I'm quoting here, "Once the investment contract has run its course, the token may continue to trade, but those trades are no longer securities transactions simply because of the token's origin story."
Let's just pause on that for a second, because the fear has always been once a security, always a security.
Always. You could never shake that original sin, so to speak.
And this just erases it.
It completely erases it. This statement confirms that a token can start its life as a security, maybe in a centralized token sale, and then it can transform into a commodity or a digital tool once it gets decentralized enough.
So this is basically the Hinman test becoming official SEC policy.
That is exactly what it is. The infamous Hinman test is now official doctrine.
And for anyone who might not remember, that came from a speech back in 2018. Former SEC Director Bill Hinman suggested a token could stop being a security if the network became decentralized enough.
But it was just a speech. It was debated endlessly, but it was never law.
Until now.
Now it is. This gives every project the one thing they've needed: an escape route. Decentralization is the official path out of securities regulation. It ends the regulatory purgatory.
I mean, if you were around in 2018, the sound you're hearing is $1 billion in potential legal fees just vanishing overnight. So what does this actually mean for the industry, for you, the investor?
It's massively bullish.
Right.
I mean, it turns compliance from a guessing game into a checklist. New projects now know exactly how to structure their token.
They have roadmap.
They have a roadmap. They can design their tokenomics and utility from day one to fit into the digital tool or commodity bucket, focusing on decentralized governance and actual use cases.
Does that change how they'll do fundraising? Or even smart contract audit?
Oh, absolutely. Token sales were huge regulatory minefields. Now, you can structure them with confidence. For institutions, audits can now be tied directly to classification. If token is a commodity, the scrutiny on its secondary market trading is way, way lower than for a tokenized security.
And for exchanges like Coinbase?
Less uncertainty means lower legal bills, fewer delistings, and more liquidity, which is everything if you want to bring in big institutional clients.
Yeah.
You're already seeing firms react, applying for national charters, trying to build on this new clarity.
What about for DeFi, the heart of all this?
Well, DeFi protocols can now properly classify the assets they use. That makes the whole space safer and much more attractive to institutions. At the end of the day, it's about risk management.
Right.
If you know the legal status of an asset, you can price the risk. The big takeaway is that the regulation by enforcement era is ending. We're moving to predictable rules.
It feels like this couldn't have just happened in a vacuum at the SEC. There must have been some outside pressure or collaboration.
There was. Atkins mentioned over 100 industry meetings and, crucially, working closely with Congress.
Ah, on those market structure bills.
Exactly. The ones trying to clarify jurisdiction between the CFTC and the SEC. Atkins made it clear the SEC wants to complement what Congress is doing, not replace it. So all branches of the U.S. government are finally starting to sing from the same hymn sheet.
Okay, let's put this new taxonomy to the test. Let's run through some specific examples just to make sure we all get how this framework applies.
Let's do it.
So commodities, category A, we've got the obvious ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, but also Solana and XRP on the secondary market. And interestingly, Dogecoin fits here too.
Correct. No central management, just market forces. And then for category C, the digital tools and network tokens, that's where you find the DeFi infrastructure.
Like Chainlink for data.
Yep. Uniswap for governance and fees, Aave, Maker, Lido, these are all tools for accessing a service. Stablecoins like USDC and USDT also fall here as payment tools.
And finally, those high-yield managed assets, tokenized T-bills, for example.
Clearly tokenized securities, category D. They represent a claim on a dividend, a yield stream. They're managed for financial return. That makes them a security no matter what blockchain they're on.
And we're already seeing the market react. There's all this buzz about ETF pipelines for Solana and DOGE.
Which confirms their new institutional status as commodities. It all fits. This framework also gives the RWA protocols what they need to operate legally and without fear.
This is, without a doubt, the clearest classification system the U.S. has ever had. The regulatory fog is lifting, which is the #1 thing you need to open those institutional floodgates.
It is. And, if you found this deep dive into the new SEC rules helpful, if you appreciate us digging through these dense documents to get you the key insights,
Yeah, please take a second to engage with the content.
it really does help.
It does. By liking the video, hitting subscribe, and ringing that notification bell, you're basically telling the algorithm that this is important information. It helps us keep bringing you the biggest stories that are shaping crypto's future.
Your engagement makes all the difference. So, with that, I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Okay.
We now know that decentralization is the official escape route from being a security. The question is, how quickly do you think a protocol needs to decentralize to legally become a commodity? And more importantly, what specific measurable metrics will the SEC actually accept as proof that that transition is complete?
That measurable proof, that's the new billion-dollar question for the whole industry. Thanks for joining us for this crucial deep dive. We'll catch you next time.